we made 12 commitments of principles, things that our campaign is about. And the reason I did this is I have a very, very strong belief that American politics is not enough about ideas. It's too much about things that really belong on gossip pages, or maybe it's about personalities, and maybe it's about general feelings, and all those things are important. I'm not saying they're not important, but and there's some appropriate amount of time should be spent on them. But the most time should be spent on ideas. That's the thing that moves people. That's the thing that creates a future. First commitment that I make is I will keep America on offense against terrorism. During the Democratic debates, I couldn't find one of them that ever mentioned the words Islamic terrorist. None of them. In fact, at one point, one of them was asked, who are the biggest enemies of the United States? The biggest number one, number two, number three enemies of the United States. You know what listed as number one? North Korea. Well, North Korea is an enemy. North Korea is dangerous. I mean, I grant that. And boy, we had to be really careful about North Korea. And sometime we can do a real long foreign policy address on North Korea, which I'm happy to do. I'm writing an article for Foreign Affairs. We describe what we would do about North Korea. But I don't remember North Koreans coming to America and killing us. I don't even remember communists and Nazis doing that. Now, they were more dangerous in other ways, no question about that. But you got to be realistic if you want to lead. You have to lead from cold, hard facts, not from fantasy. If you can't say the words Islamic terrorist, then you have a hard time figuring out who is our biggest enemy in this world. How do the people organize that are coming here to plan to kill us? And then how can you stop them from doing that? That's what being on offense means. And now I question whether or not the Democratic candidates, the Democratic Party, faces reality when they say things like giving timetables to our enemies of retreat. When Senator Harry Reid says, we have lost in Iraq. When we have 160,000 American young men and women in harm's way, we've announced to them that they've lost. I think that shows not understanding. Again, I don't believe it shows lack of patriotism. I don't believe it shows not caring about the troops. I'm sure he and the rest of them care about the troops and are patriotic as I am or you are. But I do think it shows lack of understanding of the enemy that we face. What happened in Gaza is a microcosm for what's going to happen in Baghdad, because there's the same question now about Baghdad and about Iraq. What will happen if the American troops are pulled out, particularly in the manner that the Democrats want us to pull out? With a timetable and quickly, and with an announcement by the majority leader and one of the heads of the Democratic Party that America has lost. Those are his words, not mine. I don't believe that. He does. What will happen, most experts say, is you will have a civil war, much larger than the one in Gaza, because there are a lot more people and a lot more at stake. And it'll be between the Shiites and the Sunnis. The difference is that unlike what happened in Gaza, which stays basically isolated to Gaza, it'll become something that inflames the entire region, because there is a much more of a connection between large portions of the Middle East and the Arab world and the Sunni community than there is between the large portions of the Arab world and the Palestinian community, quite frankly. There's a difference in terms of their concern and their interest in just how far they'll go. You know that because you know the history of the Middle East. I know that because I know the history of the Middle East. And the Sunni countries will have to come to the defense of their Sunni brothers and sisters who are being slaughtered by the Shiites, who will be getting even for the years in which the Sunnis oppressed them in Iraq. And when they do, the civil war becomes a regional war. And as several American generals and American troops told me, please let us get it right now, because we're the ones that are going to have to go back and straighten it out 2 or 3 years from now. And then the war that you're talking about, these people are talking about on television, the Vietnam War, comparing what's going on now to Vietnam, then you will have a self-fulfilling prophecy. And you will have a war at the dimension of the Vietnam War with much greater casualties. And we know we have to pay a price now. But they told me, this was in San Diego a couple months ago, please tell the American people we're willing to pay the price now because we realize how much more the price is going to be later. And that I think, it expresses probably the reality of this much more than the Democratic and Republican politicians who are all looking at those public opinion polls and trying to figure out how to please you. American soldiers don't kind of run by public opinion polls. They kind of run by principle and commitment, and the reality is that we have to look at Iraq in the whole context of what's going to happen in the region. And then we got to take our focus off Iraq for a while. You keep one eye there, but you got to multitask in foreign policy. We got to look at Iran. Now, make it real simple. Here's what we have to do about Iran. The message should be delivered to Iran. We're going to use sanctions, we're going to use negotiations, we're going to use pressure, and we're going to find new ways to pressure you to stop becoming a nuclear power. But here's the bottom line. You are not going to be allowed to become a nuclear power. No how, no way, just not going to happen. If a man says, I'm going to destroy Israel, I'm going to kill Americans, and that man runs the government, I'm going to take that real serious. I'm going to assume he's telling me the truth, and I'm going to stop him. If there is one main issue, if there is one big issue, if there's one single issue in this campaign, and rarely are they, and there probably isn't even in this campaign, but if I had to select one, and that's why I made it number one, it is, if I'm president of the United States, I can guarantee you we will be on offense against Islamic terrorists in order to make sure that we end this war as soon as possible and with as few casualties as possible and keep America as safe as possible. Thank you very much.